Hello and welcome to the Alternative Living Podcast.
We're Bea and Theo, and together we are the Indie Projects. We travel full-time meeting interesting people who have handcrafted alternative homes and lifestyles.
So thanks for joining us and let's get to it.
Welcome to our 5th episode of the Alternative Living Podcast. At the end of September, we were invited to spend the weekend at Camp Quirky, hosted by Quirky Campers, who had around 30 self-built campervans all lined out beautifully in a sunny field in the Cotswolds for a couple of nights. There was so much inspiration for us as we're planning on buying a bigger van in the new year, so it was amazing to see so many different layouts and chat to so many people who have done it themselves. As usual, we filmed the whole thing, so there's a link in the description to the film where you can see all the vans we got to see. As well as a host of gorgeous vans, we met up with some familiar faces, including Rich from Beyond the Van, who we've recorded the next podcast with, and Ellie and Scott, who we met back in August to create a film about their gorgeous van, Florence. So let's get into podcast number 5 with Ellie and Scott. Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. We've just been at the Camp Quirky weekend hosted by Quirky Campers, and we've met up with Florence and the Morgans, aka Ellie and Scott Morgan. I'm Bea.
I'm Theo.
I'm Ellie.
I'm Scott.
And we are currently sitting in their van hosting this week's podcast.
And we've had a lot of requests to have you on the podcast, so thanks for coming on.
Oh, really? That's nice to hear.
So did you enjoy the weekend?
Yeah, it was really awesome, actually, because obviously we're really passionate about our camper van, and it's just nice to be around like-minded people who are as passionate about their vans as we are. So,
yeah, it was great. The first night we were chatting to Veggie Van Life on Instagram, and they're a couple also, and it was just brilliant to talk about sort of vans and, you know, really geek out and
yeah, well, we've all had similar experiences with our builds and things. And so everyone could kind of relate to the same stories of the hard work that they went through building their van. And yeah, really cool to share and also really inspiring. There's just so many incredible ideas and designs, so many different ideas that people have incorporated into their van. So we've come away with quite a few new little things that we'd like to change. We thought we were done in Florence, and after seeing all of those vans, there's even more now, isn't there?
Yeah, just roof bars. That's what I've come away from this weekend.
An adventure rack.
Yeah, an adventure rack, definitely. So,
yeah, if we could get bars up on our roof, we could get a roof box up there, because storage is just everything when you're in a small space. So we can clear out our boot of all the things that we don't use frequently, get those up on the roof in a roof box, and that would just give us extra storage, especially over the winter months where we're going to want more kind of warm jumpers and coats and things like that. That would be really handy.
So for anybody who hasn't seen any of your videos or the tour we did with you guys, can you just give us an explanation of what your van actually is so they can visualise it when they're listening to us talk about it?
Okay, so the van is a Fiat Ducato. It's a 1990s, quite an old van, based on a Talbot Express, which it's just different coach builds of different campers. So, yeah, ours is a coach built by Aldis, basically. So when we originally got it, it was just full of, you know, typical 1990s sort of...
kind of retro,
yeah,
but not
retro,
in a cool way.
Retro MDF, but it all got ripped out.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about what you had to do to the van when you got it. Where did you find the van?
Well, it's quite a crazy story regarding the van and the fact that it's called Florence. We have a friend who lives in a village just down the road, and her name is actually Florence. And every time we used to go over and visit her, I used to see this tired little camper on the driveway opposite her house with tarpaulin over it, not knowing the first thing about, you know, campers or anything like that.
I think we'd always aspired that we'd love a camper van.
Yeah, but
we just would never have had the budget to afford one. So it's something we dreamed of, but not something we ever actually thought we could afford to achieve. So
Yeah, and the old wheeler dealer in me and the cheeky chappie said, I think we could go knock on the door and see if they wanted to sell it. And of course, Ellie was like, no, you can't do that. So I asked Florence if I could go and speak to them. And she was like, yeah, go for it. So I knocked on the door and the guy said that it wasn't for sale, but they'd take my number. And if they decided to sell it, because they were thinking about upgrading, then they would give me a call. And that was it. I didn't think nothing of it. A couple of months later, I had a call from the owner saying, we've thought about selling it. And it's because you were quite cheeky to ask us, we're going to give you first refusal.
Which was just amazing.
Yeah.
And it was a price that, actually was manageable for us. And it was something that we could actually achieve. So the van kind of found us, really. We were really lucky. So we didn't name the van Florence after our friend Florence. That was just a pure coincidence.
Yeah.
So what was the next step then? So you've got the van. What do you do with it?
That's again, it comes down to money. And it happened so quickly, having this van. It just went from one day, because we were just about to, we were coming up to our wedding anniversary, our first wedding anniversary, and we'd literally just booked a trip to the French Alps.
Yeah.
And we just bought this camper van, and our heads were kind of spud out. We were sort of in the process of running our new business as well. So everything was happening at once, and we just didn't know what we were going to eventually do with this camper.
But she was a runner, basically. Yeah. So she had a tired old interior, but she was a runner.
So the couple you got it off were an old couple, hardly used it.
Yeah, it had been sat on their driveway, sort of just kind of rotting away, really, for who knows how long it had been there. But I think it had been their family van when their children were growing up. Children had left home and the van had just kind of become redundant, really.
Yeah, but the van, I was chatting to the owners, and they'd been to Ireland in it, been to Scotland, parts of France in it. So, before Florence came to us, she's well travelled. So, and the owner said the engine is brilliant. It's just had an MOT. But as anyone would know, with being a Talbot Express or Fiat Ducato owner, the bodywork rusts. So inside, like Ali said, it was kind of retro, but it was tidy inside, but the bodywork was rusty. The subframe was all good, didn't need any welding, but eventually the bodywork would have to be tackled.
Which we had no idea quite what a big job that would be. So, we knew that it would have to be done, but we couldn't afford to get a welder in for the first season that we had it. So we just ran it as it was, basically. We just kind of patched it up with filler just to keep it going through that one season. And so we had a few lovely trips out in it just as it was. And it wasn't until the following year that we actually went ahead and got all the bodywork done.
And the inside, you've not done anything to the inside when you went on them trips?
No.
Okay.
So, we did go out for a few trips, just exactly as it was. And, we had a nice time. But, of course, I'd go on Pinterest and I'd see these amazing campers, just like we saw this weekend at Camp Quirky.
It's a dangerous website, Pinterest, isn't it?
I had Pinterest boards, of course I did, yeah. And I had these grand dreams of something that I'd like to do to the van. But, again, it just kind of came down to budget. But then obviously the winter was hard on the van and the rust had got worse and we had to get it done. Otherwise she would have completely rotted away and there would have been no return at that point. But in order to get the welding work done, we had to strip out all of the interior furniture. And there was no getting that furniture back in. It was old furniture. So I came home one day and Scott kind of had spontaneously decided to pull it all apart, didn't you?
Yeah, but previous to me taking a hammer to the inside of it, we did kind of flirt with the idea of, painting the I think it was MDF covered in plastic and stuff. We were just going to keep it original, but just paint over it, sort of chalk paint and kind of try and make it. But there was a shower in there which we thought we'd never use and stuff like that. So, one day Ellie went out and I kind of flippantly said to her, I'm going to strip the van out. She was like, yeah, whatever. And literally she came back and it was just a mountain of MDF.
Yeah, literally just piled high. So then we were left with an empty shell, and anything was possible at that point, but not financially. That's the only trouble. So it was with the welder for a lot longer than we thought it would be.
About 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it was originally going to be a week with the welder. And it was a bit of a nightmare situation with the welder, to be honest. In hindsight, I'd have probably gone with someone else because it just took so long. And we were on a budget to get to the Lake District. And I was trying to work on the van while it was at the welders. And I was kind of driving him mad by saying, oh, can I work here while you're doing that? And so it was a frustrating time. And there was a few moments where it was with the welder, where the front of the van was off, wings were off, the dash was off, and the whole of the inside was just filled with water because it wasn't.
Oh no!
The tarpaulin was leaking and stuff. And I looked at the van, and
you could never imagine you could do anything with it. It was just I couldn't see a few. I was thinking, this is going to be one of them projects that is just going to end up on eBay as like parts
but we got through it. I just kept having a positive mind and just kind of, instead of trying to see the end result, I was like, right, we just need to get the welding done and do that. Then we can start to do it. And eventually, this weekend has been great because people's been asking me, and I've been showing them pictures of like the evolving of the work done on it.
So much happened in such a short time.
Yeah, because you guys did it quite fast. Like, I know you guys set yourself a pretty tight time frame, but another thing, as well as having a deadline to reach, you also had to do it within a budget. So do you think that kind of made you be a little bit more creative and think a lot harder with what you were doing because you only had a certain amount of time and a certain amount of money?
Absolutely. We had to be creative with it. We had no choice whatsoever. So I had big dreams and big ideas. And in order for me to realise that, we had to be really thrifty. So, I mean, we got all of our wood from a wood recycling centre, which was great. There's a lot of pallet wood in here. There's all kind of combinations of wood. We just pick up whatever bits of wood we could get cheap, really, didn't we?
Yeah. And we had, Ellie had lots of like plans and schematics of how she wanted
I'd drawn
the
these
kitchen
designs
and stuff like that. And I basically said to her, I said, if you want this van finished and me to do it, I've kind of just got to go with the flow with it. I've kind of just got to build it bit by bit and see what I can do.
Scott had no prior carpentry skills or anything. He literally learnt on the job with the woodwork completely.
And I think that was a real turning point for us with the van build, kind of having a free flow kind of build as opposed to it needs to be like this. We knew there was going to be parts of wood involved and stuff, but the moment that I became a lot more confident knowing that I didn't have to kind of work to a brief, it was like I was free to kind of to do what I want. And
I think the majority of people that we met this weekend said the same thing. They didn't have a plan. They just kind of offered stuff up and went, yeah, you know what, this fits and this works. And
that was hard for me because I literally had done to scale drawings. I'd made a floor plan of the van. I had all the measurements, but of course, when you're passing those on to someone who can't even translate them, it was just never going to happen. And there was a few kind of frustrating times trying to achieve my ideas, and I kind of had my heart set on wanting things a certain way, and you were just like, this is not going to happen.
Yeah, there was plenty of times of me throwing my dummy out of the pram. It was like, right, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to pay a chippy to come in and do it. And then Ellie would remind us that we have no money.
Yeah.
And that was a big, I think a lot of people that kind of go into these vans, they generally are on no budget. And so you have to kind of do it yourself. And that was a good thing in a way, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got like quite a few bits on eBay. We would, every weekend, we'd go to a car boot sale and see what we could find that we could incorporate into the van. We kind of went to sort of little kind of thrift stores and places like that. And I was constantly looking at things and thinking, how can I use this differently? So, like, for example, we got this carpenter's box, which was a beautiful old carpenter's box. And we bought it from a flea market. It cost me £24. Lovely box. And I just could visualize making it into sort of storage compartments for the top of the van. And I had to persuade Scott that we could cut up this box. And you were really reluctant to do that because it was such a lovely box.
It was a beautiful box.
Yeah, but I could just visualize how it could be, which is, it's nice to be able to kind of have that vision of how you can change things and repurpose them.
But I think from your photography background, that must have really helped, because with your photo shoots, you both will have had to visualize the sets and the design and the photo that you want. You kind of have to make that up in your head before you get the photo.
Yeah, I guess we are obviously from a creative background, and we do kind of have a creative idea, a creative eye. But without a doubt, our inspiration came from others. We would, we'd spend hours, I would spend hours looking at other people's designs, watching videos on YouTube, looking at pictures on Pinterest, and just kind of pinching little bits from here and there and cobbling them all back together for our own design.
Definitely.
So there's a lot of people who'll be listening who will have heard you say that you got rid of the shower, and will be thinking, why on earth would you get rid of a shower in the van?
Because we don't shower.
We smell.
No, we smell of roses, see?
Wet wipes.
Wet wipes.
The thing is, we're weekend warriors. If we were full-timers, then absolutely, we'd have to completely rethink that. But when you're only going out, usually for weekends, I mean, I've got a daughter, so getting childcare of longer than a weekend, it doesn't happen very often. And then on the times where we have been away for longer than a weekend, you can go to a campsite and you can use the facilities, you can go to the services, they have showers. There are places you can go, leisure centres, etc., etc. You only need to Google that to find places.
Yeah.
It just takes such a lot of space. And then you've got to carry like 70 litres of water. And that's a challenge again, is finding those 70 litres of water to keep your tank topped up.
Yeah, definitely. Water in a van is like one of the most precious commodities. It's as important as oxygen because sometimes you cannot find it. So wasting it on a shower just feels like a waste.
We had a rented van in Portugal for 10 days, and that had a shower, and it was amazing because we were in the middle of nowhere having a shower. But you have one shower or one shower each, and your water's gone, and you have to go and find somewhere to find water again. So
I can remember your video. I can remember it. It was exhilarating for you.
Pure
And
enjoyment.
it was like, oh my God, this shower.
It was heaven. Just knowing that, you could be anywhere but have a warm shower was unbelievable.
Yeah, because we've been travelling in vans for years by then, never had a shower in one. It really was like, wow, this is actually a thing that people do, shower in vans.
But then even this weekend, I spoke to a lot of people who have showers in their vans, and they basically just use it for storage usually.
That's what our shower room was. It was a dumping ground.
Yeah.
And it just seemed such a shame to have
It was wasted
this room.
real estate. It was kind of, you can use it so much better.
So would you advise people who are listening to this, because like you said, you are self-proclaimed weekend warriors, you don't live in it full time, but you travel as much as you can in it. Would you say don't bother having a shower because it is just a dumping ground? If you're not going to be in it for like months at a time, there's no point.
I think it's a personal choice.
Yeah,
it has to be.
I would like to say it depends on you as a person. I think anyone who's getting into kind of van life has to have, some sort of, not to be too
Precious.
worried about being cleansed.
Yeah.
Generally kind of outdoorsy person.
Exactly. You're not going to get princesses wanting to go.
It's amazing
into
what you
van
can
life.
achieve with a bucket of hot water and a flannel.
Yeah.
You know, actually, that to me feels like a luxury wash. I've had a good old flannel wash with a hot flannel in the mountain air. It's just as refreshing.
Also, going for a dip in an ice cold river or a lake or something is very nice.
Mountain
and refreshing.
waterfall, I'm always showering in those.
It's all about the experience. You know, you're on the road, it's an adventure, and little things like that are different. It's all part of the adventure.
You're kind of forced to be more creative in terms of like cleanliness as well, which you just would never think of if you've got like a normal shower or a house or you're staying in a hotel or something.
When I was in Yosemite about 3 months ago, I was living out of a car for my trip and I had to wash in the river, and you know that was cold because the snow was melting and it was freezing cold, but it was nice, you know. It's back to basics, and
that's memorable though as well. Exactly. As memories made.
So I can't help but notice your absolutely beautiful stove, little grill oven combo thing that you've got. Where did you go about sourcing like some of that sort of stuff? Because obviously that's not a brand new thing. It looks pretty retro. Did you struggle getting like appliances for your van?
Well, I'd seen this little stove again on my sort of Pinterest ventures. I'd spotted the stove and I had to have it. I didn't know where I was going to get it from, but I knew I was going to find it. So I tried all different kinds of search terms on eBay until I eventually found one. And it was actually quite a long way away for us to go. But it was the one thing that I was prepared to drive all of those miles to get because I just had to have it. I really wanted an oven in the van.
You were very insistent after, you know, when we were starting to do it. I knew that having an oven, you'd have to kind of have it dropped in and sort of sawn this out. And I was like, let's just have a, 2-ring kind of top simple gas. We don't need an oven. And then...
No, I need an oven.
Then it was like, we need a nacho oven. We need pizzas in our life. And it was like, okay. And then this
you do make good nachos.
Yeah, you do. We can
it's all
confirm.
about the nacho. This is the nacho van.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
When we first met Ellie and Scott, they made us the tastiest nachos. You can actually watch it on one of our vlogs if you're interested on our channel.
30 nachos.
So is this a caravan oven or what's it designed for?
Yeah, I think it is a caravan. I think that's actually the search term that I used was caravan oven. I'm sure that's what I actually searched for.
It's definitely out of a caravan, I think.
But it's called a Flavel B600. And we've had a lot of people inquire about our oven, and I'm hearing that they're getting harder and harder to find.
Really?
So if you do spot one at a good price, snap it up because I think they're going to get popular.
The going rate, I think, is about 100 quid. But I was chatting to someone this weekend, and they reckon they've seen a couple of them come up on eBay for about 400 quid.
Wow, so that's a big difference.
Whoa.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think people are kind of tapping into, exploiting us poor
van
lifers. But this weekend, I must have seen 5 vans with these ovens in.
Yeah, there was lots of
I definitely saw one of the one with it. And they just look lovely, these ovens. They're really nice.
We always get loads
vintage
of comments.
feel.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And they've got 2 rings, which is more than enough in a small space. Like I never even use more than 2 on the boat, and I've got 4 rings. So 2 is enough with a little oven. It's perfect.
And for some reason, the gas that comes out of them is really intense for a tiny little flame. It's
very hot.
Like our last hob, it had more flame and... Sounds a bit weird, that. But it's like very intense heat.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it cooks really well. We're really pleased with it. We want to make a roast dinner next. That's the plan, isn't it?
Yeah, roasted
full
chicken
English
in that
roast.
And
oven.
what about the fridge? Is that a 3-way fridge? And was that in the van
originally?
Yeah, that came originally from it. That's a 3-way gas electric fridge, which is brilliant. You know, again, they're very common in sort of boats and caravans and campers and stuff like that.
And it is quite a good size, but we're terrible. When we go away, we get so much food in, honestly, and we always fill that fridge up completely. So I wouldn't be able to manage with a little cool box because we've always got our fridge rammed with goodies ready to go, haven't we? Snacks and drinks. And
it's a perfect size, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like about your van is kind of how big it feels inside because of the height.
Yeah.
And so originally was there a bed up high, was there?
Yeah, there was a crew cab kind of bed. I think that's the right sort of term for it.
Yeah, like an overcab bed.
Yeah.
So it would sleep 4, would it?
Yeah.
So you'd have
Family
kind
van.
of like the back where you'd have like the bench seat, which would fold out into a bed, and then above the cab.
There were 2 single beds. So the driver's seat would fold down to the rear passenger seat and make 1 single bed, and then the same on the other side. So it's 2 single beds, and then you would have a double up above the cab. But there's literally no head height up there. So it's very claustrophobic. So we never slept up.
Yeah, so maybe good for a kid, but not for a fully grown adult.
Yeah.
It was a double downstairs that we had, but we were missing the centre column to turn it into a double bed. So you could literally have 2 singles on either side of the van, or this one piece that made up a double.
Yeah.
But we never used it.
We never had
and
that.
that was the downside when we first got the van, is when we stayed in it, I was just too big to sleep up in the cab. So, and because we didn't have the centre column, we used to sleep separately. So Ellie used to sleep on one side of the van and I'd sleep on
our
the
sleeping
other.
bags.
So, which was not ideal really.
No, you can like snuggle and get cozy. And yeah, we really craved a fixed bed as well, because you had that mission of setting it up every night and then putting it away in the morning. So that was something we really wanted, was a fixed double.
It's definitely nice with a fixed double bed to be able to just roll out of bed in the morning, and that's it. You haven't got to tidy it away. You can just get on with your day. And
But
just
also
do
for
stuff.
those afternoon naps, we love that. And we use it as a day bed, you know. We've got some lovely big cushions there, and we spend a lot of time just sort of chilling on the bed. It's a really cozy place to be. It's sort of our cozy corner of the van.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice chill out.
So what about all the electrics? Like, how did you find doing the electrics yourself?
Well, the good thing about this van is when I did rip it out, there was a 12-volt system in the van. So I just adapted from that. So, and just added to it. There was sort of 12-volt points, which I split off. That's the beauty of 12-volt, is you can kind of, split off from it and kind of
But
run
that's
it.
the good thing about converting an existing camper van, is those electrics are already in place, because obviously from speaking to other people, that's a really expensive thing to install, is all the wiring to get that set up. So having that already in place, that definitely saved us a lot of time and money.
Definitely, yeah.
So it's all good and well having a van, but unless you go and use it, then what's the point? So what's kind of your favourite places to go on the weekend, head out on an adventure?
Well, I have a real soft spot and a love for the Brecon Beacons.
I always say my heart lives in Wales. It just
definitely
does. My heart lives in Wales. And if I didn't have a teenage daughter, then I probably would be living in Wales. So as often as we can get over there, we will. And we're really fortunate living in Somerset. We do have the Severn Bridge there. We can get over there really easily. So Wales is one of our favourites.
We met a couple this weekend at the Camp Quirky, and they thought that we were from the Brecon Beacons because we know it so well. And
we're always
live
sharing
there,
pictures.
and we're like, no, we just live in Bristol. But I do a lot of wild camping over there. So if I'm not over there in the camper, then I'm there in my tent. And I don't know, there's just something special about the Brecon Beacons. I don't know what it is. There's the mountains aren't that big and stuff, but it's just the rolling hills and the green and
the lakes.
And the lakes.
It's
the
all
reservoirs.
about the mountains for us. Lots of people will head to the coast, other people will head to different places. For us, we love the mountains and lakes. That's where we feel at home.
When you guys head out in the van to Wales, majority of the time, how do you go about finding places to stay? Do you tend to go back to the same places, or do you kind of like the idea of going to new places each time, or do you plan them in advance, or do you see how it goes?
We do try. I mean, I love my maps. If I'm at home, I'm on Google Maps. I'm kind of aerial maps, printed maps, anything.
We've got maps in the van.
And I'm using Google Street View to go down sort of roads and lanes and stuff like that. And the thing is with us in the van, and it goes back to our photography days when we used to go urban exploring and stuff like that, we would just drive down a road, and if it was a dead end, most people would say, oh, it's a dead end.
Don't go down that road.
Don't go down it. So if it's dead end, we drive down it, and we drive down it
They're
as far
always
as
the best roads.
far as we can until there's a gate or the road gets so bad that you can't drive anymore.
But we really enjoy just driving around. For us, that's all part of the adventure. Even before we had a van, like Scott said, we would just spend hours driving around in our car, and often it would be looking for urban exploring locations or locations where we could go and do photo shoots. And so we're really happy just to drive around, and then we happen upon places. So we always look for kind of roads that are off the main road. We don't like to park on busy roads. If you go over a cattle grid, you're usually onto a winner. So we always get really excited when we see a cattle grid, because
We're
you
like,
know,
cattle grid.
Yeah, cattle grid. And then you know that you're on some kind of rural, quiet road, and you've just got the sheep there to keep you company.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yeah, we've been quite lucky with places to park up.
We've found some amazing places.
And we do, if we find somewhere really nice, we do go back there. But the Brecon Beacons, even though it is quite big, with our van that we've been exploring quite a lot now over there, we are finding that we've pretty much found everywhere there is to find. I think we've
driven nearly every road, I think.
Yeah, every farm road and service road.
Yeah.
So a lot of people get worried about wild camping and ask us, but don't you get moved on? Don't you get people knocking on the van? Have you ever had any problems?
I think I used to be concerned about that, but just kind of from experience, not once have we had a problem. Not once ever. I mean, you've got to be respectful. You don't park over, farmers' gates, or you don't park in a way that could be dangerous to other people. But no, we've never been moved on. We've always had peace and quiet. And if anyone does stop and talk to you, it's usually out of curiosity, because they're interested in what you're doing. So we've never had any trouble so far. Touch wood, we've been really lucky. But if somebody was to ask us to move on, then fair enough, we wouldn't want any trouble, and there's always somewhere else you can move on to. But we always park in really, really quiet rural locations. So, the chances of even bumping into somebody else is minimal, never mind finding someone who's going to be upset about you being there. I think, obviously, if we were parking in towns and things, that's a whole different kind of
I'd be more worried parking in a city, than in a countryside, because you're going to get more trouble. People just tapping on your vans and your windows, or breaking in and stuff like that. So, yeah, we always tend to find somewhere quite quiet.
So if money was no object, what van would you get and where would you go?
See, Scott asked me a question yesterday.
Oh, you shouldn't have asked her that question.
Yeah. He said, what is your asking price for Florence? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Come on, you've got to have a price. Everyone's got a price. What would you sell the van for? And I'm like, I wouldn't. So he's like, okay then. So we're offering you $100,000 for the van. You're going to sell it? No. Why would I? This van, he said, but for $100,000, you can buy another. You can do this all over again. But to me, it wouldn't have the same story. What we went through to create this van, the story of finding it, what the van means to us, it's got so much sentimental value to me. This van is like family, And I even said to him, it's like Pretty Woman. Well, I said, well, how much would you sell me then for one night?
Indecent Proposal.
Oh, Indecent Proposal. It's the same actress though,
you're
isn't
not
it?
a hooker, I hope.
No. Well, you would be if you were selling yourself, wouldn't you? And he was like, no, you can't even compare that. And I said, well, you can, because to me, this van feels like family. I couldn't sell it. So I don't have a price. Sorry.
I was just checking to see her heart was in Florence. I wouldn't sell it for $100,000 either. But, you have to ask these questions.
Okay, so what about location? Where would you go if you had unlimited funds?
And unlimited time.
For me, there's still so much of the UK that I genuinely would like to see. I mean, if it was unlimited funds, I'd love to be able to ship the van to America and do road trips around America. My goodness, that would be amazing. And that is super expensive. And really, it's unviable to kind of ship your van over there for a holiday. But if money was unlimited, then yeah.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised on the price of shipping the van over to America.
What did you find?
It was about €850.
Seriously?
One way. and that goes from Germany, I believe, to Canada.
No way.
And takes 3 years.
See, because I looked into it and it was about $3,000.
Really?
So you've obviously found a really good source. You have to share that.
Going through the right company.
Yeah.
Yeah, the right company. They stick it in a freight. So I think you drive it into the container.
Okay. But you can't travel with it, can you?
No. So you have to get there.
Which
so
is
that's
an extra
probably
expense.
another grand.
Yeah.
You probably could, though. Completely,
Just hide.
make, stock up and just hide out in your van.
And
that
I
could
guess
be
it depends on the vehicle that you've got. So that was for a T4.
Okay.
That's quite low, isn't
So
it?
you'd probably need a slightly bigger container.
Yeah, I don't think we get in a regular container, though. That's the problem.
Yeah. So, that would be amazing. Imagine doing the road trip. And the fact that the one you found ships to Canada, I'd love to do Canada as well. And just work your way down from there. That would
You
be
could spend
amazing.
6 months in Canada, then jump into America for 3 months on a standard visa, and then maybe going to South America.
See, South America, I mean, I think the wild camper in me would love to go to Patagonia and around those, but I'm not sure if you could get a van around there. But I would love to, I'd love to do kind of Scandinavia in the winter months. Put snow chains on your wheels and kind of...
It's so beautiful in the winter.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
I mean, there's Iceland, there's Norway, where we went on our honeymoon.
Sweden.
We really enjoy that.
Yeah, we've been thinking about Iceland for a long time, haven't we? And I know, do you guys follow Heimalife?
Yeah,
Yes.
amazing.
So they went to Iceland, didn't they? And the photos were just incredible. It looked like they had an amazing time.
Serious van envy there. Like, I really do want to go to Iceland. I've never been to Iceland, but I've seen a lot of photos and I do want to go there in my
I would
own
love
van.
to.
If you're going to do it properly,
We've been thinking of, as photographers, for years, like Iceland, not many people used to go to Iceland. And then we used to see all these photographers going off to Iceland and
It's getting really popular.
shooting models at the Dakota airplane, which has sort of become so famous. And that was a really cool picture that Heimalife done with him
with
on
the BMX on the top.
And I did
That
comment, I said, out of all the photos that I've seen, that is by far the coolest and most imaginative one, because it was brilliant. But I would still love to go to Iceland. So
yeah, we will get there one day.
That's an expensive ferry. We've looked into it. I think it was about £1,500.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So it's
that
quite
was
a lot.
return.
But if that's not too bad, I suppose, if you go for 3 or 4 months.
yeah.
And it takes a couple of days to get there on the ferry as well.
That's the thing, is obviously I've got a teenage daughter, and those long trips, they are for the future one day. But I do have some big dreams. And
You've always got a dream, haven't you?
oh my goodness, yeah, absolutely.
The Faroe Islands looks really nice.
Oh, yeah.
When we were in France a couple of years ago, we met this guy down a dirt track, and he was from Norway, and he'd done motorbike reviews for a magazine, and he's been all over the world. And of course, he lives in Norway, which is a beautiful place. And I asked him the $1 million question. I said, "Where's the most beautiful place that you've been to in the whole of the world?" And he said it was the Faroe Islands. And he said the place is just majestic. He said it's
I've
brilliant.
seen lots of photographers lately heading over there as well.
I think the Faroe Islands is becoming the new Iceland, and I think again.
But what you can do on the ferry is I think it stops off there on the way back.
Yeah.
So you can jump off the ferry there,
Tie it in.
stay a month there, and then back on the ferry. So
Yeah.
Amazing.
But again, it's going to be one of those places that I think you're going to kind of miss you're going to look on sort of Instagram and see all the pictures of done to death. So it's just about coming up with new ideas and being original.
So coming back to Camp Quirky, what van would you say that if you had to get rid of Florence and you had to pick a van from Camp Quirky, which one would you go for?
I really liked, was it Saphira?
Oh, yeah, Sophia. I think it might have been Sophia.
Saphira. Anyway, it's a new one on the Camp Quirky books. And Lindsay, who is...
That's Lindsay's mum's van?
Yeah, Lindsay, who's like Mrs. Camp Quirky, essentially.
Right, I wonder why she was in and out of the van quite a lot. So
yeah,
that's her mum.
she's created this amazing van, and the interior is absolutely stunning.
It was cracking, and it just literally took your breath away.
That exposed pipework, I think I'm going to have to nick that idea for our self-build.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
also what they did with the pallet wood. Like, I've never seen pallet wood.
They burnt it, didn't they?
But it was perfect. It wasn't too dark. It wasn't too light. It just felt really nice.
It doesn't sound nice, but there were these orange velvet sofas, but they were so soft and
I kept stroking them. They were lovely.
Yeah, they were really, really nice.
It just felt like a sociable space, didn't it? Where you could have your friends round and really enjoy being there, no matter what the weather.
For me, the shower head, I've never seen anything like that before.
Beautiful.
So clever, made out of like pipework. It was just amazing.
And the shower didn't have a door, but it had a curtain. So
it was a very cool shower.
So obviously when you're in the van and you're not in the shower, you can keep the curtain open, and it means that you've got more space. It feels like you've got more space.
It was also nice to look at, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a feature.
Yeah.
So
everything in that van was just spot on, I think.
Yeah, that van was probably the one van that I did flirt with the most when I was there.
There was a lovely porthole window as well at the back that was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that I struggle with, like long wheelbase vans, conversions, is that they don't have any side windows and stuff like that. And that's why I love our Florence, because I sit in it and I can kind of get a sort of a 360 view of the work,
dual
aspect and stuff like that. So
and that's interesting because I think was it Veggie Van Life? Are they the guys with the Ducato
31
with Bijou?
The blue one,
the
Bijou.
blue VWL 31.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Who were the guys with the Ducato, the Fiat Ducato long wheelbase?
They were wild something.
But that was really interesting because they had a super stealth van, no windows whatsoever.
They were a really sweet couple, weren't they?
They were lovely. But there was still a lot of light that came through. Yeah. But I guess they're living in it full time and they want to keep low key.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference between sort of us being weekend warriors and living in a van full time. Everyone has different things. For me,
we don't need to be in a town.
Being a photographer, and I need to be visually stimulated. So I need to sit here with my coffee to be able to look out onto the landscape and see that. If I was cooped up in a van with no windows, I would probably find it quite claustrophobic. I mean, I know you can open doors. But,
so I guess the Veggie Van Life van was probably the most similar van to yours there, wasn't it? And it was really nice and bright.
That would be my second favourite, was Veggie Van Life's van. Definitely.
It was beautiful. The decor was stunning.
Yeah, I really liked that sofa area that they had again.
Yeah.
So that felt like a really sociable van. And it was really clean with all the white woodwork that was in there. It just felt fresh and it was a really nice space.
It was
again,
lovely.
From the outside, it had a kind of a real kind of rustic sort of van feel to it.
It's a cool van.
And then you get inside and it was the way that it was done out inside, it was amazing.
Really nice.
And Rich from Beyond the Van, I know it's not on the Camp Quirky books, but it was a beautiful van, wasn't it?
The apocalypse van.
Yeah, he was prepared for anything. His van was just beautiful.
Even his kayak on the roof matched.
Yeah.
I know.
It was a real home from home, that one, wasn't it? Yeah.
It felt lived in and it felt like you could live in it.
Definitely.
It had a wonderful amount of space, fixed bed, nice kitchen,
and
separate
a sofa
toilet.
area.
Yeah.
So
separate
everything
shower.
was there.
I'd never seen a bathroom that big that didn't feel that big. Like it didn't really it didn't feel like it took up a lot of internal room, which was really nice. Then you open the door and it's like, it was big. It was like a normal size shower. It was amazing.
Everything was full size ovens, full size sofa. I loved the sofa in front of the
I can imagine sitting there just doing an edit.
Oh,
and Rich
amazing.
was a lovely guy as well. I really enjoyed hanging out with him this weekend.
Nice.
It was
yeah,
really
such
nice.
a humble, lovely, friendly guy.
Yeah.
He was just, but hardcore with his bare feet.
Oh, wow, yeah. So
I'm really impressed with that.
Rich doesn't wear shoes. So he had bare feet the whole weekend. It was very impressive in the rain, on the gravel, in the mud, everywhere.
Yeah.
He'd be an amazing hiker because he wouldn't get blisters. I'm sure his feet are kind of made for anything.
They must be leatherized by now.
Yeah. I don't think I'd have any feet left if I did what he did. But very impressed.
Talking about feet, you've got to have surgery on your toe.
Yeah, I've got to have
we didn't appreciate you sharing that that footage of your toe. I just watched that and I said, that really wasn't necessary.
But we're going to talk about it now. So
we don't want to see it again, please.
Well, actually,
we're
funny
YouTubers,
story.
we have to show everything.
We've got the toenail here for you.
No, I don't even want to hear the word.
here you go, Ellie. Happy Christmas.
That's so gross.
It's a necklace for you now.
That'd be brilliant.
It's so wrong. So you did take the nail off.
You could give it away as one of your YouTube
really enjoying this
subscribers.
conversation.
It's a Patreon reward.
Yeah, we're going to auction it off for charity.
Do you know what? You probably could, guys. God.
There is a subscriber out there that probably wear your toenail as a necklace.
Yeah.
No, basically I went to the doctors the other day and it's ingrowing.
Nice.
Very painful, and so I've got to go and see the surgeon and get it taken off, I think. So
What, actual surgery to remove it?
yeah,
What have you done to yourself?
I know.
Well, it didn't help that you went bouldering and smashed the toe repeatedly whilst bouldering as the new
Bouldering?
nail was growing.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
yeah.
No, I know what that is. I'm bouldering, as in you went bouldering.
And then I
you
also
fool.
trod on his toe twice in one day the other day. So that was, when you're actively trying to avoid doing something, so you end up actually doing it. Like I was
Small
trying
space
so
living,
hard.
though.
Yeah, where were we? Oh, it was at my sister's birthday party.
Oh, right.
I was trying to sit down and I just trod straight on his toe. It was
Did he
really
cry?
bad. Internally.
I just want to get it sorted before we go to Portugal, and if the NHS doesn't do it in time, I think I'm just going to have to get it done privately.
Yeah,
because I don't want to be in Portugal.
Operations on the NHS.
Yeah, I don't want to
have
be.
pliers in the boot.
Yeah, I
We'll
was
sort you out.
thinking Scott could sort this out for
Have
me.
you not seen my medical box? I told you I've got something for everything in there. You'll be
Definitely.
fine. Bit cocodamol, tweezers, you'll be fine.
Pliers,
Oh yeah, pliers, that'd be more fun.
maybe a hand drill.
So coming back to the vans, so you've seen all of them vans now. If you hadn't have done your build before Camp Quirky, would you have changed anything from what you saw?
Well, I mean, like Scott said, this van just evolved day by day. So, I mean, the way the van looks now, we didn't know from day one that it was going to look like that at the end. So, yeah, I think even if we started a van again today, in 6 weeks' time, we'd have something completely different again, because you're kind of finding your materials and, repurposing things. Then it would be different every time. This van is a one-off, unique van. I don't think we could ever recreate it again. And I'm not sure that I'd want to do it again. It was really hard work.
But the hard work, we were talking earlier about the things that we've done in the van, and there's just, even though it was hard work and there's times where I wanted to give up, there gets to a point with the van where you've got like the main plumbing and the electrics done, and you might have your fixed bed in and your kitchen, and then the fun parts come the pretty bits where you're adding like drawers and kind of stuff like that, and that's when it gets exciting when you're going around.
I spent hours just sat at a sewing machine, running off cushions and curtains and blinds, and I'm rubbish at sewing. Like, I have a love-hate relationship with my sewing machine. I love my sewing machine, but it hates me. And yeah, I would always spend far more hours like unpicking stitches that had gone wrong than I ever did making them. So I learnt a lot, but it was hard work.
You've done an amazing job on the upholstery.
Thank
It
you.
looks professional.
Again, it was just getting cheap fabric and making the best of it.
It's wonderful.
I really like all the switches, because what I notice a lot of the time is people do a self-build and they kind of do it kind of quite vintage, wooden, and then they put kind of plastic switches in and stuff like that, but you've got like proper knobs.
Yeah, we've got a couple of nice light switches that Scott picked up from a flea market, which we were really happy to put in. Scott was able to wire them himself. We have got one plastic switch that goes to our inverter.
Yeah, that's because it's a USB. And
it's got a USB, which is really handy. We do use it all the time.
And the panel over there, was that originally with the van?
Yeah, so the electrical part of it was originally there, and then we
like
just
a
put it
Zig
on a
unit or-
wooden board.
Yeah. I wanted to
make it
keep
pretty.
some elements of the original van here, so we kept the fridge. There's a water system which is under the bed. I think it's about 40 litre, and then I added a stronger pump to it. So yeah, we kind of tried to use as much as the old van as possible.
And the $1 million question is, has the previous owners seen the van?
No. Do you know it's funny? I
think you should go around and just
I actually really like the idea. Like, I had an idea for a film that would be really cool. Like, I think we've got 5 previous owners. Do you think it would be amazing to find those 5 previous
that would be
owners
really cool.
and hear their stories and then kind of show them, look what's happened. And I wonder if they loved it as much as we love it.
Yeah.
I just think that would be a really cool film. I have no idea how I'd track down those 5 previous owners. But so, no, we haven't shown them. I don't know how they'd feel about it,
But
really.
definitely the previous owner, you know where they are.
Yeah, I know where they are. Yeah.
There's a part
I think you should
of me,
just rock up with the vlogging camera.
when we originally done all the work, we were going to have the van resprayed. And then if it had got resprayed, I would have loved to have taken it to all done out. But we've kind of swayed away from the fact of respraying the van because we spend a lot of time going down country lanes in hedges, and I think we'd have just wrecked it.
We wouldn't like to have to be precious about the outside of the van.
Thinking, oh my God, we can't go down there. So now I'm not sure, after meeting them, if they would...
Well, they actually really loved this van. And I remember the lady saying that she felt a bit sad to let it go because she had so many memories in here. So I don't know how... Like, I almost worry that
it
she'd
might be
like,
quite
what
emotional.
Have you done? Yeah,
like, what the hell have you done to our
I don't
van?
know. This is definitely, it's quirky, isn't it? It suits us and a lot of people appreciate it, but they were quite an ordinary couple. I don't know.
Yeah, they upgraded to a motorhome,
Yeah, they did. We spotted that on their driveway when we went to visit our friend again a few months later. They bought a big motorhome. So,
So do you think you're kind of some of the first to kind of do this to this type of van? Because it's always a lot of panel vans, isn't it?
As far as we know, so I spent hours and hours searching, trying to find someone else who had done this just for inspiration. And if anyone else had done it before us, then we haven't been able to find their images. So I'm not sure. But since we've done it, I have seen, there was one person who showed me on Instagram who was converting the interior of a van.
But again, they'd done what we were originally going to do. They kind of just chalk painted the original stuff. They didn't.
It did make a difference, though, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was a kind of a rebuild. But seeing the original pictures that they just kind of,
But I do get a lot of
it.
messages from people sort of saying, oh, can you tell me more about your build? Because I'd love to replicate it. I'd love to do the same thing myself. So maybe there will be people who do it. Maybe there could be like a rebirth of Talbot Express conversions.
Did you document your build in any way?
No. I mean, looking back, we would have loved to done it. The trouble is where we live, our driveway where Florence was parked during the renovation, we have
it's like a shared
neighbours.
driveway.
Well, it's not. There's 3 garages,
like 3 bays,
and our bay is in the middle. So we've got like neighbours on either side, and one of them was quite sort of strict about.
I don't think our neighbours loved us during that period.
No, because he was out polishing his car all the time, and then I would cover it in sawdust. And,
oh dear.
And yeah. So I don't think and there was no electric to our garage, so we had long extension leads going across the front of their garden, and so it was quite stressful. So we tended.
It was really rushed as well. Obviously, the build, we were working so hard on it. Obviously being photographers and kind of aspiring filmmakers, we're too anal about how we would want to approach it, and we just didn't have the time for it.
We were going to do it.
We wanted
but then
to.
It just didn't materialise, and it was so stressful. I think it had just been a lot of edits of cutting out swearing and
it wasn't pretty.
No.
Yeah.
Or inspiring. So
no, we didn't have the time or space.
Yeah.
So what kind of stain did you use on the wood? Because it looks really nice. It's not too dark.
It's medium oak.
Medium oak.
Medium
from B&Q.
oak. So we use the same medium oak on all of the wood, but because we've got kind of different types of wood, it sort of presents itself slightly differently.
Yeah.
But I quite like that.
It's about 16 quid for 1 litre.
Yeah, I think we used 2 litres, didn't we?
Yeah, because we literally.
And was that just one coat, or did you have to do a couple of coats?
2 coats. 2 coats. Most of us is taken 2 coats.
Yeah.
So was that just to cover it, or was that kind of to get a darker finish you had to do? Was it too light on the first coat? We
had the oak. We bought this oak worktop off of a Facebook group. I think we paid like 40 quid for it. So then we kind of started.
Yeah, that's where we came from. We started with this solid oak worktop, and that then became the inspiration for the rest of the wood in the van. So we wanted to tie in the woodwork with that oak worktop because we'd got it for a good price. So yeah, it kind of came from there.
So you mentioned the kind of Facebook groups. What do you think of them? Have they been useful to you?
Amazing, really.
I've let them take over my newsfeed now. I no longer see my actual friends' posts because all I get is updates from these van life Facebook groups, and usually you hide those in your feed. But I love it. I sit there in the morning going through my newsfeed on Facebook and just seeing all the little chats and conversations and things that are being posted in those groups. And for advice as well. We've both got advice from there.
There's a Tolbert Express Facebook group, which has been brilliant. I've been chatting to people this weekend, and there's a real kind of cult following for Tolbert Expresses. Not as cool as the Volkswagen sort of following, but it's sort of George, who's sort of 90, who's had his Tolbert Express for like 40 years. And
knows it inside out.
Yeah, and you just ask a question and it's just like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And it's like, there's an abundance of information
people
out there.
It's so helpful. It's unbelievable, the information you can get from people if you just ask.
And there is for Tolbert Expresses, if anyone's thinking of buying one, there is a company down in Bournemouth called Coastal Motorhomes. And basically they have everything made for a Tolbert Express.
Which is the beauty. Obviously, with an old van, you'd be concerned, where am I going to get parts? But there's actually a lot of them out there, and there's a lot of people breaking Tolbert Expresses.
So if it goes wrong, you just order a brand new part. You don't even have to go.
We've never struggled to find a part for this van.
No, never.
That's really good, because a lot of people get worried about getting older vehicles because, like you said, it can be really hard to get a hold of new parts. So knowing that sort of thing is around is really helpful.
Yeah.
Because Ellie was toying. She was like, oh, imagine having one of these big American school buses.
I want a schoolie, man.
But even if you imagine trying to get parts for that, if your gearbox goes, that's game over.
I saw there was a festival in the US recently, and there was loads of school buses, and I would have loved to be there to check them out.
That'd be a dream. Imagine going over to America, we'll get a schoolie, convert it, and then travelling that. That would be, So,
So that question that I asked you earlier, that's the answer.
America schoolie bus, definitely a yellow one.
Yeah. I don't think I'd get a licence to drive one because they're huge, aren't they?
I don't know what the rules are.
In America, you can just drive them on a normal licence.
Oh, can you?
There you go, see.
As far as I know.
But the trouble is, and I've always said that to Ellie, they are amazing and they're huge, but I don't think they would fit in with where we take our van, because I think there's two types of kind of van lifers. There's people that live in them and will park up around the back of an NCP car park, but we use ours to get to places, to see views and to experience the outside.
Well, in America, they have like BLM land and national forest that you can stay in for free for a certain period. And we stayed in some, and we were over there in the summer, and some of the views we had were just stunning. I mean, we were in the car. So
could you have got a school bus to where
You'd be surprised at the vehicles that were there.
I think the bigger the vehicle, the better, because some of them potholes are pretty big. It's pretty rough, kind of unkept land, so I think, a school bus would probably be okay.
Yeah, and quite a lot of them.
But there are people that are doing it, so it's obviously possible.
But American roads are built for big, all their cars are massive over there. They're all kind of V8s, so they're built. Whereas in this country, it's usually single track, so you're lucky. Sometimes it's lucky to get this thing down.
Yeah, we have met people who've downgraded their vans because they just couldn't fit them in the places they wanted to go to.
Exactly, yeah.
And we're the same as you. Like when we were in America, we were in Grand Teton National Park, and we wanted an amazing view that night. So we headed up this kind of forest track, fire road, and we got right to the top, and we were like, it's just going to be us. And there was a really steep hill, and I ran up the hill just to double check that we'd be able to make it in a hire car, non-4-wheel drive. Probably shouldn't have done that, but we did. And basically there was a 30-foot trailer with a 4x4 that had pulled this kind of huge, great caravan type thing up there, and they just go anywhere, don't they, in America?
Is that when you got attacked by the Mozzies?
The worst Mozzies in history.
Yeah, I've seen the video. Yeah,
it was literally
very cool video.
like apocalypse of mosquitoes. Never experienced anything like it.
Yeah, I couldn't cope with that.
Because we wanted to sleep in the tent that night, and we ended up having to sleep in the car because it was just that. It was literally swarms. It was like mid-swarm, but mosquitoes.
So when you were in the car, did you have to have the windows wound up then? Would they fly in?
Yeah, so windows, all the windows up.
But it was all right because where we were there, it'd been quite funny actually. We hadn't slept in the car because it had been so hot, so we'd been sleeping in the tent. When we got to Grantee, and obviously it was a lot higher elevation, that night it was like -1. Oh, wow. So it was all right to have the windows shut because it was cold. So it worked out well.
It's so strange because the night before that we were in a tent and it was how hot at night?
Like 35 degrees.
35 degrees at night.
Degrees or something.
And
that's crazy. That's not
hot.
fun in a tent.
No, it wasn't. It was literally like there was no breeze, just sweating. It was just horrible.
Well, I tried to sleep in the car in Death Valley. And that's not advisable.
You nearly died, didn't you?
Yeah.
This is what happens when Theo travels without me. He tries to sleep in 100 degrees, flipping stuff in the car.
He got to chill out in a nice swimming pool.
He nearly died and then headed for the pool.
I had to pay nearly, I think it was $150 for the night. I turned up at 11 at night and the pool shut at midnight. So I just sat straight in the pool. I was just like, just give me a room.
Would you kind of?
It was the last room. Yeah, it was the last room left. And yeah, I made it through the night. But I thought it got really cold at night in Death Valley.
Yeah,
but it does in the winter.
Oh, right, okay.
In the summer, it was, I think it was 45 degrees or something at night.
God.
And 50 in the day, 51.
Wow.
Not fun at all.
No, I'm not good with heat.
No.
Well, that's the same with campers as well. I suppose travelling anywhere hot is another thing with our camper. It's not really no aircon and stuff like that. And
I'm sure though, if you knew you were going to a hot country, we could look into sort of doing something about that.
Yeah, like there is air
units.
Conditioning that you can have put in them and stuff. We did see quite a few of them in America with that.
If we needed
but aircon's really tricky with power.
Yeah.
Like I see people on them groups all the time trying to figure out how they can get aircon to work off solar.
Super solar.
And basically they can run it for like an hour before they drain all of their batteries.
Because even in a normal car, it rinses your petrol.
Yeah, you need to get some kind of super decent ventilation system going on, but it can be really tricky in vehicles.
And I couldn't, like I thought about, do I just leave the keys in the ignition, the engine on with the aircon on? But then I'm sleeping in a vehicle and the fumes are kind of coming back into the thing. I was like...
You wake up and there's no petrol.
You wake up and you're dead.
No petrol.
That can't be.
No aircon.
In the middle of Death Valley.
Yeah.
So do you guys have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, anything? If you want to promote that now, is the time. Plug yourselves.
Yeah, I look after all of the social media accounts. So we have our Instagram account, which is at Florence and the Morgans with those little underscores between each word. We have our YouTube account, which is Explorer Buddies. That's our YouTube channel. So we've just started vlogging recently.
That's doing really well, isn't it?
Yeah, we've had some really nice feedback and we've really enjoyed doing that. So, and then we've also got our blog, which is our website, www.explorerbuddies.co.uk. And you can find links to all our social media from that website.
Yeah, and we'll link in the description or wherever this video is or podcast, we'll link you in there so people can find you very easily.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being on our podcast. And
thank you very much.
Always good to see you guys.
Likewise.
Brilliant. And I just have to say a big thank you to the Indie Project because without them, they really give us a sort of a board to jump off of.
Well, I actually did say that they kind of gave me the confidence to actually get into vlogging because Scott's kind of done some vlogging himself before in the past. And then when you guys came and did the van tour with us, that was kind of my first on-screen appearance. And obviously I was very nervous and I knew you guys had an audience and I knew it was going to be seen. So I was just like, right, I've just got to do my best, do the best I can. That's all I can do. And it went down really well. And I just thought, do you know what? I can do this. I can. And it really gave me the confidence to actually start doing our own vlog. So thanks for that.
You did great, and you kind of set a benchmark. Like everyone we go and do a tour with now, they mention you guys. So
so thanks for being such wonderful people.
No,
and I'm happy that we're mates with you and you're stuck with us forever now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to find out more about what we get up to, then head over to our website, theindyprojects.com, where you can find links to our films, Instagram, Facebook, and other social media profiles. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.